We've asked a million times, who's going to get the money? Are they going to get the money? Is he going to have to give up the money? We're going to see. According to Frank Perez, his lawyer, they ain't going to see that money. We ain't got no money. What money? Ain't nobody got no money.
I mean, the government didn't identify any properties. They didn't identify anything. He's going to be able to pay that. I mean,
he ain't going to be able to pay that. I ain't got it. Mayo said, I ain't got it, man. You can put that number up there for the headline. Make the people think that the U.S.I. is richer. But, nah, he ain't got it. They get nothing.
I mean, the government didn't identify any properties. They didn't identify anything. And you and I know that people at that level don't have anything in their names.
Did you know from Mr. Zambada what happened with Los Chapitos? Why was he betrayed?
See, let's stop at the money. Let's stop at the money right there. They haven't identified any of his property. They haven't even done an audit. He said, y'all got me fucked up. No money. Nothing.
Millions.
I ain't got it. They said, we need 15 billion from you. Mayo said,
shit.
He said, was it a B at the end of that shit? Listen, man. The avocados, my daughters. The ranchos, my nieces. The milk company, somebody else's name. You know, we got nothing. Got nothing for you, man. Go get your fucking shine box.
Now go home and get your fucking shine box.
They said, what you got in the vault? He said, that's what I got in the vault. Have that. So that's his lawyer telling you. They're not getting shit. It's all headline talk. Not only did the drugs not stop flowing, but we didn't get 15 billion richer. Coño, man. 15 billion. What'd they do? They took an old man off a mountain. All right, now they're moving on to the why did the Chapitos betray him section of the video.
Because why was he betrayed?
I don't know. I can't answer that. He doesn't know. He had a lot of trust in them, and that's why he met with them. So he didn't see it coming.
Evidently, he didn't see it coming.
Luis Joaquin was Chapo Guzman's son. Mayo's godson is the one that kidnapped him, and Hondo was the pilot. Kidnapped.
Hondo was the pilot. You say that clearly. How did Hondo not make it to the cameras? How did Hondo get sent back to Mexico without American criminal charges? He got sent back to Mexico, supposedly accidentally or maybe not, and then got into some more shit and got popped off again, and then got sent back again. It just all sounds like a bunch of bullshit.
And took a lot out of him. It knocked him down. He was
knocked him down, took a lot out of him.
When he was kidnapping, and guess he's reserved, but he's making the best out of a bad situation.
Is Mr. Zambada aware or suspecting even that any U.S. agency participated in the kidnapping?
Well, Mr. Zambada wouldn't know. Mr. Zambada was, taken into a room and thrown to the ground. He was disoriented at that point. When he was put on the plane, I think they gave him some kind of liquid to make him go to sleep.
This is the old man. I like to call him The Thing. I swear I didn't know he spoke this English. Fucking
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
How that translated he made me do. Hondo had a deal. Hondo.
So he doesn't really know what happened. It happened so quick for him, and it caught him by surprise. When he was on the plane, he thought they were going to throw him off the plane. So everything happened really quick, so I don't think he really knows what happened.
He thought they were going to throw him off the plane. Coño, man. Imagine. He don't know who's involved. How'd you know? If Mayo don't know who the pilot was, the only way the lawyer knows is because the U.S. told him. I think I read somewhere that El Chapo has not even paid the money to the U.S. government. I don't think none of them end up paying those amounts. Man, that's headline money. You got to add a price tag to the headline. Make it worth your tax dollars. They've secured a giant piece of properties and of criminal organizations, but they aren't of El Mayo's. They're not in El Mayo's name. Well, of course not. All right, the lawyer of El Mayo Zambada went on Milenio and said he ain't got nothing. He ain't got it. He ain't got the monies. Got no money. He said he got no properties under his name, no businesses. I wonder if the Mexican government has located or secured any property in the name of El Mayo Zambada. Directly to his name? Fuck no. That's basically what he just said. He said we got all kind of properties and criminal organization stuff, but anything in his name, That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the Ark of the Covenant that he got hidden in the basement, the planes, trains, the automobiles, the farms, The mountain. They want all that shit. Nah, but they're not gonna get it. He ain't got it. It's not his name. It's his first wife's name. And we got criminal shit. We got, labs, but nothing in his name. Miles had decades to plan his strategy for leaving his family with legitimate businesses. He played chess with politicians for decades. He just let his guard down with the Chapitos. Yeah, he shit the bed. Mexico and the USA want the money. However, he has been in the game for decades. He knows all the tricks. I think they don't get it out of nobody. I think they get it out of the people that left it there to be got. He just been, like you said, careful for a long time.
He did not want to cooperate. He told me from the very beginning that he was guilty. He wanted to accept responsibility, but he was not going to talk about anyone, period. He was not going to.
Because he knows everybody was going to tell everybody that he talked. But he's been doing that shit for 30 years on the quiet, on the sly. So what the fuck is the difference? Am I crazy? What's the difference? Sounds like to me he don't want you to know. All you got to do is read the book. One book. Not a bunch of books, one book. His son's memoirs. Mr. Perez, tell them I don't want to talk. I've given them enough over 30 years.
Going to talk about anybody within his cartel or any other cartel, or he wasn't aware of any corrupt government officials that they were talking about. He says, I don't know anyone that's corrupt. So
come on, let me ask you something. Didn't he walk up there on day one, first hearing, and say, for this many years, between 30 and 50 years, I've been paying police, paying motherfucking politicians, all this shit. Didn't he say all that shit? Now he don't know nobody corrupt? Come on, this don't make sense to me. This don't make sense to me. They question the USI's intelligence on a regular basis, man.
He just said no, he was not going to cooperate. And that's just the posture that we took.
Any information or any kind during or after his arrest on the U.S. soil? Is he an informant?
But he did not want to cooperate. He told me from the very beginning that he was guilty. He wanted to accept responsibility, but he was not going to talk about anyone, period. He was not going to talk about anybody within his cartel or any other cartel, or he wasn't aware of any corrupt government officials that they were talking about. He says, I don't know anyone that's corrupt. So he just said no, he was not going to cooperate. And that's just the posture that we took.
No, mommy's wait.
Shut up, bitch! Shut your fucking mouth!
I don't believe you. Go get your fucking shine
Now go home and get your fucking shine box.
Exclusive interview. El Mayo's lawyer, The Thing, rules out drug trafficking rules out drug trafficker paying money demanded by the U.S. In an interview with Milenio, one day after his client was sentenced to life imprisonment, he said that Zambada is not an informant. He did not cooperate with the government in the traditional way. He don't do nothing traditional except for his cows and his mountain and shit. It was a no-win situation. We weren't going to win a trial, Frank Perez stated. Ismael El Mayo Zambada Garcia does not have money Washington wants. Washington wants all the money. Everybody's money. That's what his lawyer Frank Perez says, making it clear that the fortune attributed to him, which the United States government wants to seize, is completely unrealistic. I ain't got it. In an interview with Milenio, one day after his client was sentenced to life imprisonment, he said, there's no way Zambada can pay that. The government didn't identify any property he owned. They didn't identify anything. You know? And I know, you know, and I know that people that at that level don't have anything in their name. And now that this is known, they're going to steal his property. They're going to burn it down. Who knows what will be left of his property and things he had, said the lawyer, a specialist in high-profile criminal cases. It is a conversation in which the lawyer talks about the future of his client, whom he describes as an elderly man with health problems. Regarding the notion that something was agreed upon with the Donald Trump administration, he countered that El Mayo does not cooperate with the United States. No, mommy's wait. Get the fuck out of here, man. His son told us. He's been doing it for years. FBI, DEA, doesn't matter. Since he has nothing to gain by handing over information, and I'd argue that's not true. He has things to gain for his son. Maito Flaco's still on the loose. His family security is still out there. Miss me with the bullshit. Did Mr. Zambada cooperate with the government? Did he provide any information of any kind during or after his arrest on U.S. soil? Is he an informant? He was an informant before he landed there. Why is this so hard to understand? I'm not making this up. His son told me. His son told you too. Why am I crazy? No, he's not an informant. He didn't cooperate with the government in the traditional way. His cooperation consisted of accepting responsibility and reaching a plea agreement so the government could avoid a very complex federal trial. But as far as giving information to anyone goes, no, he didn't do that. He simply refused to cooperate. He told me from the beginning that he was guilty, that he wanted to accept responsibility, but that he wasn't going to talk about anyone, period. He wasn't going to talk about anyone in his cartel or any other cartel. He didn't know about the corrupt government officials they were talking about. He didn't know any who were corrupt. So he just said no, that he wasn't going to cooperate, and that's the position we took. He has nothing to gain either way. He's an older man. He has many. That reason right there is the reason I don't think he would have turned himself in 100%. You know, he has nothing to gain either way. He's an older man. He has many age-related medical problems. He's 76 years old, and he has nothing to gain, the legal advocate argued. In addition, Perez asserted that his client can fully identify the two people who traveled with him in the small plane that transported them in July 2024. The irony that he can point out Hondo. Mayo didn't mention him in his letter. I never heard from Frank Perez or Mayo until the United States came out recently through Luis Chaparro and told us Hondo was the guy. I don't believe these motherfuckers, man. In addition, Perez asserted that his client can fully identify the two people who traveled with him in the small plane that transported them in July 2024 from Culiacan, Sinaloa to New Mexico, United States, Joaquin Guzman Lopez, his godson, and a pilot known by the nickname Hondo. Oh, you recognized him, right? But they all fucked you up. You didn't recognize nobody else. We're told that he broke windows in the fucking plane. Like, this is all horse shit. Horse shit. I need a horse neighing sound in this fucking thing. Does Zambada know, or are you aware who the people involved with the kidnapping were? He said yes. For example, who? It was Joaquin El Chavo Guzman's son and Mayo's grandson. Now, what if he did make a deal and they said just say Hondo was the fucking pilot? Like, there's too many what ifs, man. And I get it. If was a fucking fifth, we'd all be drunk. But miss me with the bullshit, man. It wasn't until recently that they nailed down and said, oh, it was Hondo. All the other times they said, this is Ivan's pilot. Maybe it was him, maybe. Now they telling us, and now they telling us they never told us before? Get the fuck out of here. It was Joaquin El Chapo Guzman's son and Mayo's grandson who was the one who kidnapped him. And Hondo was the pilot, he asserted. Did Mr. Zambada confirm that Hondo and Joaquin were the two men in the plane? Yes. He is a very different man from the man I knew in Mexico. The kidnapping took a lot from him and broke him down. He was hurt when he was kidnapped. See how he went right past that? Do you see how he went right past that? Did Mr. Zambada confirm that Hondo and Joaquin were the two men in the small plane? He said yes, and then he moved on. He's different. He's fucked up, man. Emotional damage.
Emotional damage.
The kidnapping took a lot from him and broke him down. He was hurt when he was kidnapped, and although he's reserved, he's making the best of a bad situation. That's not what the fuck he asked you, and your yes wasn't enough. He wanted more than a yes. Was Mr. Zambada still trafficking drugs when he was arrested? I understand that's not the case. Get the fuck out of here.
Shut up, bitch. Shut your fucking mouth.
Stop. If they're going to lie about that, then there's other shit that... Now, can we talk traditional? Well, not in the traditional sense. He didn't go count kilos. We get it, bro. They should have questioned. They should have asked the question: was Mr. Zambada still trafficking drugs when he was arrested? No, we got to rephrase that. Was Mr. Zambada still cashing checks from the trafficking of drugs when he was arrested? That's the way they should have asked the question. McDam, you wildin'. Mayo was tired and wanted to chill. Tired of what, bro? He wasn't running in the sense that y'all think he was running, bro. That man ain't ran. He ran from one fucking castle to another. That's it. From one mountain ranch to another. Question, if you knew You were going to be free for 50 years in the game, enjoying all that money, but spent the last 10 years dying in a cell. Would you still do it? If he didn't trust his godson, he'd be on the fucking mountainside right now. Let me get my beer, man. This guy pissed me off. Was he still drug trafficking? No, that's not the case. Bullshit. Mexican authorities acknowledge that El Hondo, see, look how they went right past that. They went right past it. No follow-up. That's it. I understand that's not the case. He was not selling dope. Bro, they went right past this drug trafficking question. Mexican authorities acknowledged that El Hondo, who was identified as Mauro Alberto Nunez Ojeda, piloted the Beechcraft King Air 200 aircraft, which he surrendered to Zambada to the Federal Bureau of Investigations in mid-2024. The man was deported after the operation. That even sounds stupid when you read it. The man was deported. He wasn't arrested. He didn't come up on no charges. The man was deported after the operation. But in Mexico, he was arrested for weapons possession and was later returned to the United States, where he pleaded guilty to drug trafficking. What the fuck does all that mean? The man was deported after the operation and then sent back. The Attorney General's office only discovered later that the man was a key figure in the events, which are suspected to have involved direct intervention from Washington. Whose Attorney General's office? Mexico's? So not only did the U.S. send back their asset, because that's what he is, if they sent them back, because I don't believe he even flew that plane. He was the patsy, though, that was going to be he was the guy they were going to say flew that plane. And then he gets there and they don't even know he was the guy that...
No, mommy's wait.
Incompetence, corruption, you put it all together, it's a recipe for destruction. For his part, on the day of his kidnapping, the Mexican drug lord thought he would die, falling from thousands of feet high, but betrayed by his own godson. Does Mr. Zambada know or suspect that any United States agency participated in his kidnapping? Mr. Zambada couldn't have known. He was taken to a room and thrown to the floor. He was disoriented at that moment when they put him on the plane. I think they gave him some kind of liquid that made him fall asleep, and he really doesn't know what happened. It happened very fast. It took him by surprise. Then how the fuck do they know? How the fuck can he confirm that El Hondo was the pilot? Shut the fuck up,
bitch! Shut your fucking mouth!
Shut the fuck up. Couldn't have known. Well, guess what? Was Hondo sitting there in the room where they knocked you out? Put a thing over your head, a burlap sack, and then they took you to the plane, knocked you out. You can't recognize anybody else, but you recognize Hondo? I can understand you knowing Joaquin. Joaquin's the one that told you to be there. Probably greeted you at the gate. Are you people with me? Are you following me? Do you see what the fuck just happened there? Am I crazy? Am I dumb? Is my comprehension off? You think the pilot was waiting at the door, waiting for them to drag this man up there? Give him a sedative or whatever? He was in his seat, ready to go. They added this Hondo shit, bro. When this Hondo shit got hot, a couple of weeks ago, we've been talking about the no shit, but a couple of weeks ago when it was confirmed, and all of a sudden now, Mayo's lawyer is talking about it was Hondo, but he couldn't see nobody else. He was disorientated at the moment. He was fucked up. No mamas.
No, mommy's wait.
Does Mr. Zambada know or suspect that any United States agency participated in his kidnapping? Mr. Zambada couldn't have known. He was taken to a room and thrown to the floor. He was disoriented at that moment. When they put him on the plane, I think they gave him some kind of liquid that made him fall asleep, and he really doesn't know what happened. It happened very fast. It took him by surprise. Then shut the fuck up telling me that you know El Hondo flew that plane. Another hole in your shit. But nobody's going to give a fuck. Nobody's going to care. All of a sudden, you recognized Hondo. He told me that when he was on the plane, he thought they were going to throw him out of the plane. I thought he was asleep. Thought it was a sedative. So everything happened very fast, and I don't think he knows what happened there, who's involved. How he know about Hondo then? The reason why his sentencing was delayed is because they needed time to get their story straight. And it seems like they got it, but there's holes in that shit. This is a crock of shit right here, bro. He never said he recognized Hondo before. All of a sudden, it's Hondo. How about anybody else? Nah, man. Sedatives. I was sleepy. Thought they was gonna throw me out the plane. Did Mr. Zambada tell you what happened to Los Chapitos and why he was betrayed? I don't know. I can't answer that. He doesn't know. He trusted them a lot, and that's why they met. So he didn't see it coming. The lawyer who represented Mayo's son, Vicente Zambada Niebla, an active collaborator with U.S. authorities, asserted that the possibility of a trial in which even his client's relatives could have been called to testify was never on the table, and therefore argued that a plea agreement was the best idea. He wants everything nice and quiet, bro. He don't want no smut on his name. Do you believe you obtained the best possible outcome for your client? Absolutely, absolutely. It was a no-win situation. We weren't going to win a trial. I was involved in part of El Chapo's trial and Garcia Luna's trial. I knew who the witnesses were. I think the best strategy was I knew what his medical problems were, and at the end of the day, what he wanted was a medical facility for himself. At the end of the day, he's the boss. And he told me I'm guilty, and that's the course we took. I don't know, bro. Let's keep it on the DL, I think is what he's on. Maybe he recognized Hondo's voice. Here's my thing. He don't recognize an American accent. He don't see a patch of blonde hair. Nothing. Is it possible the government rejected Mayo surrendering and offered the alternative to play out? Makes sense to control the narrative. Nah. I don't think he was thinking about surrendering. He didn't think about surrendering for fucking 50 years. He thought about his kids surrendering, not him. Look how Mayo took his sentence and pled guilty without a word. He basically gave his rights away. Chapo crying, writing letters like he didn't keep people tied up. Listen, I don't know about this without a word shit, bro. This story sounds like horse shit. They got big old holes in it. Did you have access to the evidence in the case? What kind of evidence was used against Mr. Zambada? The evidence used against Mr. Zambada was public. It came to light during El Chapo's trial. So the same evidence they had against El Chapo was also present against Mr. Zambada. Mr. Zambada's name was mentioned several times. It also came up in the Garcia Luna case. The evidence was there. The witnesses were there. There was no way we could have faced this case, he explained. Was there any possibility that your brother or your son would testify in the event of a trial? Maybe he's talking about Mayo's. Huh? Whose brother or son? I guess he's talking about Mayo's brother? Was there any possibility that your brother or your son would... oh, yeah, his brother could pop up, or your son would testify in the event of a trial. Well, yes, there was a possibility that they would be called as witnesses. On the other hand, the lawyer explained that his client hopes that if he is not ever deported to Mexico to die in the country of his birth, even if it is behind bars, he could spend the rest of his life in a prison with medical facilities and not in the Supermax prison in Florence, Colorado, where his friend and former collaborator, Joaquin Guzman Loera, El Chapo is. Is Mr. Zambada still seeking deportation back to Mexico? Mr. Zambada would like to return to Mexico. He would like to go back to Mexico and serve his sentence there. What he told me is, I pleaded guilty in the United States, I accepted my punishment, and now I would like to go to my country.
No, mommy's wake.
Stop it. I accepted my punishment, and now I would like to go to my country, plead guilty in the same way, accept my punishment there, and I want to be an example for younger generations so they don't do what I did because it only ends badly, the lawyer said.
Shut up, bitch! Shut your fucking mouth!
When did he have the change of heart, y'all? When did he all of a sudden, when was the last time he put out a nonviolent, younger generation, don't take this road campaign? When was it? Can anybody tell me? I'll wait. When was the last time, though, he did a non-violence campaign, though, and told the kids to not take that road? How many kids, between 14 and 18, do you think they've recruited in the last 2 years that he was free to be paper soldiers for them? No? Shai's crazy? Shai's talking bullshit? Huh? When did he do that? Shout out Eddie. Looks to me like them dudes always have a change of heart after they've been caught. Oh, man, the convenience is crazy, ain't it? Coño, man.
Coño, man.
Convenient like a motherfucker. And for the number of kids they recruited. Coño, man.
Coño, man.
When does he get that change of heart? When does that happen? Does it happen on July 24th, 2024? July 25th, 2024? Is that when it happens? I'm going to be an example for the younger generation. Because out of 76 years of my motherfucking life, I decided in the 76th year That violence ain't the answer.
No mommy's wake.
Ah, man. Mayo's just a wiser man than Chop. He was wise enough to do his deals behind closed doors. He did it for 30 years. He's a monster. He's just being a wiser man than Chapo arguing with the court judge. Mayo never spoke against his business. He wanted money. Listen, man, they didn't call him Matamigos for no reason. Yeah. Mayo's like Nancy Reagan. Say no to drugs. Yeah, I can't buy it. This is manipulation, what he's been doing. 76 years old. His manipulation is at its best. See, manipulation isn't like fighters. Fighters get better with their skills as they get older, but their bodies give out. Manipulation, you could be great at that till you're 176 years old. You get better at that. And I'm sure more empathetic people, I'm sure Jay Flores wouldn't agree with me. Sounds like Mayo going to go back to Mexico and speak at police functions as an educator. Yeah, he's going to join the Kingpin to Educator team. And this time, Jay going to be the boss. Mexico has a history of putting narcos under house arrest if they have health issues. Hey, man, you go build your own jail, man. Living in Mexico, Mayo was better than the government. It's ironic, but true. Of course, he was probably real good in a lot of those aspects. That's what he wanted to be seen. The shit that was unseen was ugly. And I get it. He's a lesser of two evils is basically what you're telling me. That's cool. Evil nonetheless. All of these other evils, he's enabled them and designed some of them. I'm not feeling bad for this fucking guy. I'm not looking at him as the better option. I'm looking at the U.S. to handle its addiction problem. I'm looking at Mexico to handle its dope problem. But I often wish that I could save everyone. But I'm a dreamer. Miss me with the fucking save the children talk, bro. You gave a fuck at 76. Do you think there's any possibility he'll be sent to ADM AX in Colorado? Of course. There's always a possibility because of who he is. And Mayo Zambada is considered one of the biggest drug traffickers in the world. Under the rules of the BOP, United States Bureau of Prisons, I believe he's eligible for medical facility. And I think the judge said today that he would recommend one. The judge saw his medical report, and I think he agrees. The government wasn't actually opposed. They just wanted a medical facility appropriate to the level of security he's in, the criminal defense attorney explained. Have you been in contact with your family in Mexico? Do you expect to see them again? No, with his family. Yes, I've been in contact with his family, and yes, I hope to see them again. Finally, although the Mexican suffers from several ailments such as high blood pressure, diabetes, and even the beginnings of dementia. Oh, man, dementia too?
No mommy's wake.
His lawyer assured that all things considered, he's doing well. He reads books, listens to the radio. He hasn't complained at all. He's been doing very well. He speaks Spanish, but he's learning to speak a little English.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
He's always behaved well when I meet with him. He's always talking, laughing. We talk quite a bit. He's in good spirits. More holes in that than a cheese grater, bro. I don't believe the thing. I don't believe a thing the thing says, man. A kidnapping, a capture, and a life sentence inside the downfall of cartel boss El Mayo. For decades, El Mayo Zambada was Mexico's most elusive kingpin. We can skip all that. A former law enforcement official recalled that while other drug lords were escorted by convoys of heavily armed gunmen, Zambada kept a low profile and made daring getaways without firing a single bullet. He walked right out from under me on 2 occasions with no security at all, said the former official, who requested anonymity, of course he did, to discuss operations in Mexico. Once he was holding hands with a girl, and once he traded hats with a field worker and walked right through us wearing a poncho and field hands sombrero. I don't know if I believe that shit. I think about when they were worried about, in the book where his son says that Chapo stood at the edge with a gun and he ducked off for the woods. I don't know that he got the nerve for walking past motherfuckers in ponchos, but it's possible. Less of a household name than his longtime partner El Chapo, El Mayo preferred to rule from the shadows, a seemingly untouchable godfather who ordered deaths of rivals and lined the pockets of police chiefs, military generals, and politicians at the highest levels of his country's government. And then In the span of just a few hours on July 25th, 2024, his empire came crashing down. Betrayed by one of El Chapo's sons, Mayo was lured into an ambush, kidnapped, and forced onto a plane bound for a small airport outside El Paso where U.S. federal agents waited to receive them. In the 2 years since, questions have lingered about the extent of U.S. involvement in the stunning capture. Although officials have maintained publicly that El Chapo's son acted on his own and surprised everyone by bringing along Zambada, sources have revealed to the Times new details. Everybody got sources about talks that preceded the downfall of the Sinaloa cartel co-founder. On Monday, Zambada was sentenced to life in prison by a federal judge. Once a near mythical figure seen only in a handful of long outdated photos, and Mayo 76 hobbled into a packed courtroom. His hair, previously dyed jet black, had gone entirely silver, and his thick mustache had been replaced by a scruffy beard. As he sunk into his chair, he could be heard muttering the expletive, "Ay cabrón," suggesting he had difficulty sitting and standing up. I grew up in an environment where violence and crime seemed normal, but now I know that's no excuse, Zambada said, addressing the court. There comes a time when every person must take responsibility for their decisions. I didn't, and many people paid the price. Several top U.S. government officials celebrated Zambada's life sentence at a news conference after the hearing, though they stopped short of taking credit for his capture and echoed past comments that Joaquin Guzman Lopez orchestrated the kidnapping on his own. They got to be careful when they say got him. They got to be careful. They don't. We already know how you got him. All right, you got to be careful. The United States made perfectly clear that we do not condone kidnapping, and that he would receive no credit for anything that he did along those lines. I don't believe you. Even if you're mad at him for doing it, he gonna get something out of it. The U.S. ambassador to Mexico at the time of Zambada's capture, Ken Salazar, said U.S. authorities were not involved, a stance he repeated in his forthcoming memoir. He got a book coming? He got a book coming. The ambassador got a book. Motherfuckers is getting rich off of this shit. I need to write a book about how it's all bullshit. A stance he repeated in his forthcoming memoir, writing that he had told Mexico's presidents the United States had no prior knowledge of his abduction. All right, we got the museum right here. FBI loaned this shit out. They charged the museum about 10 stacks for the Jumex can, 10 stacks for the marble coquita, about 20 stacks for the gansito, and they hit him in the head for the Doritos. They threw this shit in for whatever. The FBI seemed to undercut that position in recent weeks when it put the small jet that carries Zambada and El Chapo's son on display at a museum attached to the small New Mexico airport where they landed. A sign displayed with the plane, a Beechcraft King Air, said the arrests were the result of Operation Air Kings, in which FBI officials successfully executed a highly complex, secretive, and daring arrest of two of the world's most wanted fugitives. This sounds like public relations horseshit. All of it. Everything that they've told us about anything sounds like maybe a speckle of the truth. Everything else, horseshit. He said, man, U.S. got nothing to do with it. Next thing you know, the U.S. got the fucking plane on parade. What? Sources familiar with the operation but not authorized to speak publicly said U.S. federal agents had been in contact with Guzman Lopez and were pressuring him to surrender. We know they had contact. And if you have contact, they're not only pressuring you, but you want to surrender. Why? Because you have contact. Who knows who made the contact first, but there's contact. During the negotiations, the sources said U.S. authorities suggested Guzman Lopez could secure a better deal for himself by bringing along key evidence or other cartel members when turning himself in, although no specifics were discussed. I don't doubt it, but they knew what they wanted, something. They probably didn't think they were going to get a whale. I think Chapitos going to pardon him. Wow, talk about a plot twist. There was very significant effort to walk right up to the line of not directing any activity, but making it clear what kinds of things would be looked upon with favor. AKA, they told him in code. They told him without telling him, man. The fuck are we doing here? Leading up to his arrest, the sources said Guzman Lopez notified U.S. agents that he would be arriving imminently and suggested they would be pleased with his bargaining chip.
No mommy's wake.
Coño, man.
He said, I got a whale in the backseat. A fucking whale. The whale of all whales. Who else could he have taken that could have beat that? Huh? The president? With mad evidence of what they did? That's the whale of all whales. One source said they expected another one of El Chapo's sons, known as Los Chapitos, to perhaps be part of the surrender, so they knew somebody was coming. Joaquin basically said, hey, I'm coming in soon. I'm going to bring you something big, the source said. They knew he meant he was bringing someone. They never expected him to bring Zambada. What happened? He did your job too well? Who could he have brought bigger? Under Zambada's direction, U.S. prosecutors said in a sentencing memo, the cartel spent millions of dollars a year to pay Mexican authorities who protected him from arrest and prosecution. Under Zambada's direction, U.S. prosecutors said in a sentencing memo, the cartel spent millions of dollars a year to pay Mexican authorities who protected him from arrest and prosecution. That is cooperation. Just because you're not saying a name and implicating which authorities, what the fuck are we talking about? They said he also employed small army of sicarios. How many of those were fucking babies? Foot soldiers who tortured and murdered rivals at his command. When did he become nonviolent? Can anybody give me a fucking date? All of these fucking YouTube channels that sit around and hold these dudes by their nuts and make excuses for them and then tell me there's no picking and choosing. What are we doing? Zambada's attorney has sought to paint a more complex portrait of his client, describing him in a sentencing memo as a product of circumstance from a difficult upbringing. Me too. You too.
We do not care.
We don't give a fuck. No one cares. The second of 7 children in a family of subsistence farmers in rural Sinaloa, Zambada stopped attending school after the 6th grade. The defense memo said, when Zambada was 12, his father died of brain cancer. As the eldest son, Zambada took over running the family farm and became responsible for providing for his siblings. He worked other jobs, including delivering meat for his uncle who ran a butcher shop before turning to the drug trade at age 19. An older friend took him up to the mountains about an hour from their village where each planted marijuana, camouflaging it with rows of corn on the same parcel, according to the defense memo. His first harvest of 60 pounds barely earned him $400, the memo said. But he developed contacts in the marijuana and opium trade, and gradually, over the course of many years, he rose to become one of the dominant figures in drug trafficking. And he did it for, 55 more years? And when did he fucking get a conscience? Last week?
Coño, man.
We do not care.
We do not care. He formed the Sinaloa Cartel with El Chapo and a handful of other powerful allies from their home state, periodically warring with rival groups to maintain control of key smuggling routes. What's wrong? Where'd this picture get taken from? The motherfuckers are hiding behind the shades? What the fuck are we doing here? What you looking at? You brought you a whale. I'll be damned if they don't give you no. They're going to give you something for that. Maybe not what you wanted. Again, they could be pricks to you and say, fuck you. You stupid. We didn't want a whale. But would you have done that if he brought Wait a minute. I guess they're saying we were looking for a volunteer to get on the plane. Because I was going to say, what if he brought his brother? What makes it different? Is it different if he snatched his brother and brought you a bargaining chip? Woke him up. Wake up, bitch. Come on. That different? But he probably wanted somebody to volunteer to get on. Mayo definitely saying he didn't volunteer. His daughter, Teresa Zambada, told U.S. authorities her father did not aspire to become what he became to that magnitude. The defense memo describes Zambada as a patriarch, the father of 16 children from multiple women, and a peacemaker who was known to first seek out other solutions. Yeah, okay, cool. The best of the worst. The former U.S. officials involved in the hunt for Zambada in Mexico said there was some truth to the suggestion that he was less prone to violence than other cartel bosses, including El Chapo, but only to a degree. Only to a degree. The best of the worst. That's what we're fucking thirsty for? To a degree. He was less volatile, but no less deadly. Well, that's it. That's all you need to know. Oh, because he didn't yell, he ain't a killer? Is it different if I say, fuck you, bitch, I'm gonna kill you? Or if I whisper in your ear, I'm gonna take your life slowly. Just letting you know in advance. Is that different? If I actually follow through? No, it's not different, right? A grizzly bear. Cartoons, Disney will show you a grizzly bear, you want to hug the motherfucker. You buy a big ass stuffed animal grizzly bear, go and fuck with a grizzly bear in the wild. Grizzly bear eat your ass first. They like to make these motherfuckers palatable, huggable. They're monsters, man. He was less volatile, but no less deadly. More surgical, but equally brutal. Several of Zambada's close relatives were early pioneers in the practice of cooperating with U.S. authorities. Several of Zambada's close relatives were early pioneers in the practice of cooperating with U.S. authorities to reduce their prison terms after being captured. A self-preservation move that has become increasingly common amongst high-ranking Mexican cartel figures. Fucking blueprint. Designed. I've been telling y'all this for fucking years. Is the pic in the wanted poster even Mayo? That is the image that can probably be attributed to him the most, because it's the only image that he went and posed for, other than probably an old mugshot. Because that's the video. That's the image from the interview that he did with this older gentleman. Then he did an interview with his daughter later. And what the twins, or what Jay Flores believes, is that this interview might have been something where he was just sending messages to Vicentillo. His brother and 3 sons all pleaded guilty and struck deals after being apprehended. Zambada himself, once in talks to surrender to the U.S. Ready? Zambada himself, once in talks to surrender to the U.S. Sources, fuentes, told the Times, but he opted to remain a fugitive. Then when he got caught, he was like, come on, no trial. I wouldn't put you through all that. The family history has fueled speculation that Zambada would cut a deal after his arrest and spill secrets about corruption. His attorney, Frank Perez, has denied any such arrangements, and a position he reiterated again during Monday's court proceeding. Perez's only request to the court was that Zambada be spared the fate of El Chapo, who is serving out his life sentence under strict isolation at a federal Supermax prison in Colorado. Why don't he deserve that? Because he's sick? Citing a complex age-related health issues, Perez asked for Zambada to be sent to a prison medical center. Judge Brian Comover, who also presided over the case of El Chapo, said Monday he would recommend that the Bureau of Prisons take Zambada's deteriorating health into consideration when deciding where he should serve his time. Kogan also says Zambada deserved the credit for sparing the government the difficulty of cost of going to trial.
No, mommy's wake.
Prior to the sentencing, prosecutors objected to sending Zambada to a lower security prison, warning that he could continue to direct his faction of the Sinaloa cartel from behind bars. One of Zambada's sons, known as Maito Flaco, has taken over leadership of the group, which remains locked in a bloody war with Los Chapitos. For U.S. law enforcement officials who spent much of their career trying to bring Zambada to justice, the sentencing Monday offered some long-awaited closure. Michael Ferrara, a former federal prosecutor in Chicago involved in the case against his eldest son, called the capture and life sentence a massive win. But Ferrara cautioned against celebrating it as a definitive victory. The Sinaloa cartel continues to exist, he said, only with the younger, more ruthless generation calling the shots. For the narco juniors, they've never lived in a real world. I believe that. They lived in a world where their fathers are in complete control. I believe that. For them, it's logical. They just employ death and destruction. They don't know any other way to hold on to power. Addressing the court during his sentence, Zambada issued a plea for peace. Peace, y'all. We gotta make peace. Too many lives are lost. I learned this yesterday, he said. No, I'm just talking my shit. Too many families are destroyed. I destroyed a whole bunch of them. And too many young people are trapped in a cycle that leads only to prison or death. No one wins a war like this, he said. To the next generation, I say, choose a different path. There is no honor in violence, nor anything lasting in crime. It brings only pain and loss. The message is real. The messenger's a fucking lie.